Hello, Abdullah here. I hope you're all well and listening to yesterday's capers. Now, I'm sure you all enjoyed the verses that Brandy and Monica did and giving them their much due roses, Brandy and Monica. And so I kind of thought to myself, why not give you guys the episode that we did on Moesha, starring Brandy. And this is when producer Paul and I spoke about this brilliant show. We talk about episodes that we watched, and we talk about Brandy and her brilliance, whether it's acting or whether it's singing. I'm sure 1.1 million of you that tuned in to Versus would love to have a listen to this and find out a little bit more about Moesha. And yeah, so here is the episode that we did last year on Moesha. Enjoy! Next up, we've got Moesha. So we're going back now to January 1996 and some of the things happening in the world. France declaring that they will no longer test nuclear weapons. And Colonel Ibrahim Barre Mainasara, who deposed the first democratically elected president of Niger, Mahaman Ousmane, in a military coup. And Bed of Roses was the top cinema release in January 1996. And the duo Criss Cross released their third and final album, Young, Rich and Dangerous. Now we go on to Moesha, starring one of the probably the biggest R&B singers of the 90s and the noughties and maybe even today, Brandy Norwood. And she plays Moesha Mitchell, who's a high school student, and this is based in the Lemon Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. It was created by Ralph Farquhar along with Sarah Vinny and Vida Spears. And this was based on a family. So you had Moesha, you had a little brother who was Miles, and you know what? I'm sensing a really interesting themes with some of these kind of black shows. Is that the husband is always widowed? Because in Moesha, the husband Frank, he's widowed. He's a widower.
And in Smart Guy.
Yeah, in Smart Guy, in Sister Sister. Kaching, the parent, was a widower. I don't know. It's just very, very interesting. Very.
That's a good point, actually. I never noticed. Literally, until you picked that up.
No, it's like a trend kind of thing. And it's like all of these are widowed. Yeah, so Frank is a widower, but he's got a partner in the show, D, and you got this guy like Hakeem who's always coming to the house. He's like the next door neighbor, so he's always kind of popping in and out of the house. And obviously she has like love interests like Ohaji and Q and those kind of thing. And also with this show, you kind of had some really, again, dealing with a lot of social issues like teen pregnancy. You had like race relations. You kind of talking about like the death of a parent, which again, we kind of mentioned. And, you know, just the normal issues that, you know, teenagers will kind of go through. So like relationships, boys, girls, and all that stuff. So yeah, Moesha,
I found it really easy to find on the internet. There's loads of episodes around.
Yeah.
I was really confused with the because I think it was the first episode where Moesha gets up late, right? And she kind of goes downstairs and she's late and she wants to make breakfast for her dad and she gets mad because what I thought was her mum was making blueberry pancakes and stuff like that. And they kind of had to and fro, and I was getting a bit confused about that, about why they haven't. And then right halfway through the episodes, they explain that's her stepmom, and I was like, kind of like a penny drop moment for me. And did you notice, like actually most of the sitcoms and Moesha, Sister, and even Living Single that we're going to talk about later, the houses are massive. They're enormous.
That's America, though, isn't it? And yeah, as I was saying, the main character was Brandy. Now, are you familiar with any of the works of Brandy?
Actually, my wife, your sister, told me just before we started recording about Brandy. Listen, I had no idea
Anything worth mentioning that she told you?
that she's an R&B singer.
I just said that now.
Yeah, but I knew that before just because I was told. But apart from that, I don't know anything about her.
Interesting. She was born in 1979 in Macomb, Mississippi, but then was raised in California. She started her career as one of the chart singers and performed as a backing vocalist for most teen groups. She got signed by a record label when she was pretty young. And as well as doing Moesha, she had a pretty good singles run. One of the prominent songs of the 90s was her duet with Monica, The Boy Is Mine, which I think was at the time and maybe today as the best-selling female duet of all time.
Really?
It was number one forever and ever, like in America. Apparently, I think her and Monica don't get on, which is insane.
Is that because of a boy?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that song rang true. She sold over 40 million records worldwide. Had 8.62 million albums sold in the US. So she's clearly one of the biggest selling female artists of all time. She's won a Grammy. She's won an American Music Award. She's won 7 Billboard Music Awards. Obviously, as I was saying, some of her top songs include The Boy Is Mine, Aphrodisiac was another one of her big songs. Have You Ever? I Want to Be Down featuring Queen Latifah. What About Us as well was another song. And obviously she did a duet with her brother, also an R&B singer, Ray J. They did the cover Another Day in Paradise, the Phil Collins classic. So it's like an R&B version of that song. It's a classic song from both sides, really. It was one of those rare occasions where a cover song does the original song justice, because obviously you get covers and it's just god awful, but most of the time. But on this occasion, it was a really, really good cover. So yeah, that's Brandy for you. And I think I think she's one of the best R&B singers, one of the best sort of singers around. Somehow, despite me reading all those accolades, I don't think she's ever really got the recognition
that she deserves.
Truly deserves. I think she's a cracking singer.
I mean, that's not it's not the genre of music that I even like.
You don't say.
I can't. My wife looked through my playlist on my music and described it as white. So I mean that's
choking with your alibi. That's the game we play.
Don't be knocking Mr. Brightside.
Oh god. That's okay. And so some of the episodes of Moesha that kind of sort of stood out for me. I think we kind of touched on the pilot.
Yeah, I watched the pilot and the new one and the second one.
So which one was the second one again?
One where she does she tries for cheerleading, and she doesn't get in, but her mate does, and she gets mad at her.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't think I saw one, but I did see the pilot, but I can't.
The pilot was the one with Ohaji, and she tries to go
to
the...
yeah.
She sneaks out.
Yeah, and then he ends up kissing another girl, and she kind of realizes from the get-go that men are trash. And
yeah, but it's quite a nice thing because she kind of has a falling out with her mother-in-law.
Yeah.
As I'm guessing...
yeah, and you had the dynamic with the mother-in-law.
Yeah, because it's always... because he said that, listen, like, there's been 3 years of it's just been me and the girls. Like, this is a different...
me, Miles, and my dad. Like, I'm not used to this.
So there's kind of like a real... it's a real issue of a lot of people guess where where you've got the mother-in-law comes in. It must be difficult for the mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Coming in with the kids. And also difficult for the kids because all of a sudden they've got an upheaval in what they know.
And they're thinking,
We're gonna lose our dad to this wicked
replacing?
witcher.
Yeah, you're replacing our mum who's passed away.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting, really fascinating dynamic. So that
Yes.
was an interesting episode. One of the other episodes that I liked was Hakeem's birthday, and so Moesha tries to get Hakeem's dad, who's out of the picture, to come to the birthday party, and she's obviously trying to make it a surprise. But like her friend Nikki, because she's got a big mouth, she kind of blurts it out, and he obviously was like, "What the hell are you doing? What are you playing at? I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to see my dad. You know, he left me and my mom high and dry when I was a kid." But he comes to the birthday. No, tell a lie. So he meets up with Moesha and they're trying to arrange it all, and then he ends up not coming to the birthday party. So he kind of bottles it, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's one of those sort of interesting sort of themes with black men and absent fathers. So it's probably going to be one that may resonate with a lot of people. Maybe not even just white, maybe not even just black, but you know, white guys who may not have had their dads in the picture, or regardless, I think it might be something that a lot of people can relate to. Whereas maybe you're thinking, I've been wanting to see my dad for the very, very first time, or I haven't seen him in years and years and years, and I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. So it's one of those kind of really, one of those dynamics where you don't really know how to react or what to do. You're all over the place and that kind of thing. And another a funny episode was Moesha meets Brandy. So Brandy is played by Moesha. So like, for example, they're trying to go to a concert, and they're trying to go to a Brandy concert. And okay, so they're doing is one of those like two-way things.
Yeah.
Where Moesha is trying to meet Brandy, and they're like, you know, oh, you can get us into the concert because you look like Brandy. And then Moesha's like, I don't look nothing like Brandy. So it's obviously tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I look nothing like Brandy. Whatever. And Moesha's like, oh, maybe I can meet Ray J and all this stuff. And obviously Ray J's her brother. So again, it's one of those tongue-in-cheek moments. And this was kind of like she goes backstage and Moesha talks with Brandy, and then they have like a discussion, and and Brandy's giving Moesha advice. And this is off the back of Moesha having a massive falling out with her dad, because her dad kind of discovers that she's been seeing someone, like a guy from college. And obviously I think Frank had the rule that she can't be seeing anybody or can't be dating anybody until she's like 16 or whatever, or like old enough.
Yeah, but in the pilot, he says you can't go out with someone until you're 16, and that's in a week's time.
Yeah, but I don't know. But she's obviously been seeing boys and obviously that kind of stuff. You know, as you do as a teenager, sneaking out and whatnot. So that was kind of like the backdrop of the episode, was that, you know, she had this massive falling out with her father, and they're at loggerheads with each other. And then obviously she goes to the concert and she meets Brandy, and then she goes to the Brandy concert, and Brandy is singing and whatnot, and she's like, oh, I really like you, Moesha. And I think at the time she kind of breaks up with her boyfriend because he was like, you're moving way too fast, we should just kind of slow it down. And she's like, oh, you don't really want what I want, so I'm going to break up with you and we'll go our separate ways. And probably the most explosive episode of Moesha was season 5, Secrets and Lies. Now we find out that there's their cousin Dorian comes to live with them, but he was adopted by Frank's sister. And one of the relatives who comes around, Aunt Hattie, she kind of blurts out that Dorian is in fact Frank's son.
No way.
Woo-wee! And that was like, damn. And Moesha's like, so what, you cheated on our mum then? And he's like, you know, look, let me explain. because I think, yeah, he had cheated on his wife with a random woman, and she didn't really want the baby. So Frank was like to Sally, his sister, look, adopt him, raise him up as your son or whatnot. And Moesha has a falling out with her dad, and it's like, I don't want nothing to do with you. How could you cheat on our mum? How could you do this to us? And yeah, the whole dynamic of the household just changes. And Dorian's like, how could you not tell me? So he calls his mum, or now his auntie, and he's like, how could you not tell me? Like, my whole life is a lie. People have lied to me. You've lied for such a long time. You've hid it from me. So this was really powerful, explosive stuff. And eventually they kind of work it out, and they realize, Dorian kind of realizes, maybe I need a father in my life and whatnot. And it kind of ends, I believe Moesha ends with her being pregnant.
Really?
So I think that's how it kind of ends, because obviously I think they've all grown up. They're all at
Yeah.
college and whatnot. She starts to date Hakeem, who's like the boy next door. I was going to say girl next door, but, the boy next
That's
door.
a modern show.
I think that's a completely different show. But yeah, so the interesting thing about Moesha was that there was a spin-off show starring the friend Kim Parker. She gets her own spin-off show. I think it's called The Parkers. So this was a spin-off from Moesha. So
Yeah.
this is Kim and whatnot. And this was played by the brilliantly named Countess Vaughn. That's her name.
Her real name? Really?
Her real name is Countess Vaughn, yeah.
Sorry, just quickly, what channel was this broadcast on in the UK?
I think CBBC also showed Moesha at some point as well. I think they did, yeah. I think CBBC will show Moesha.
And that was his sister as well?
Yes. And so I think maybe Nickelodeon showed these
programs. Yeah, that's the kind of
the
parent.
satellite. But I think on terrestrial TV, CBBC used to show Moesha and Sister. So there you have it. Mo to the E to the. What a brilliant show it was, and I hope it brought back a lot of good memories for many of you listeners who grew up in the 90s. I would highly recommend you go out of your way to watch Moesha. I believe it's on Netflix, and if in your country you're lucky enough to have Moesha on your Netflix list of programs, then I highly recommend you check out this brilliant program and celebrate the brilliance that is Brandy even more. So check that out. And as always, Yesterday's Capers is available wherever you get your podcasts from. So please give it a listen and subscribe and share it with your mates and your mates. And join us next time for another episode of Yesterday's Capers.